Alright, motherfuckers. SummerSlam review time, alright? This was a very interesting show for me. Now, the reason I say this is because there's only two options. One, I completely forgot things, or two, they changed things up on me, alright? So I thought, and I've come to understand now that I may have been wrong all along, that Bayley and Sasha would also have a tag team title match, right? In other words, they would defend all of their titles the same night. It turns out they're going to defend their tag team titles next week at some other bullshit event, right? Payback, I think it is, right? Another thing, I did not watch the pre-show for this simply because I tuned in too late. I didn't realize what time it was going to start. I thought it was going to start at 8, turns out it started at 7. So I just started where it was. And it turns out the Apollo Crews versus MVP match was on the pre-show. Now, this is one of the storylines that has gotten the most coverage on Monday Night Raw. The fact that this is like in a pre-show is ridiculous, right? MVP is a big deal. Apollo Crews, you're positioning him as being kind of a big deal, right? The Hurt Business is being positioned as a big deal. And most importantly, the United States title is the United States title, right? This is not the Cruiserweight title. This is not the Light Heavyweight title, and it's not the 24/7 title. You understand what I'm saying? This is not some bullshit title. This is like the mid-card title, motherfuckers. This is a title that like John Cena would defend, you know? Meanwhile, the women's title, main events, WrestleManias, the U.S. title is on the pre-show of SummerSlam, you know? Especially considering all the hard work that has been put behind the Hurt Business and Apollo, right? Because Apollo's getting some sort of push, and he has gotten no respect out of it. I'm not saying Apollo is like the next Cena or anything, you know, but he deserves something out of this, and he deserves to go beyond the pre-show. Otherwise, why give him the title? He was already on the pre-show before. What did the title actually do? Like, MVP's promo about Apollo Crews was like, yo, Apollo, like, you're afraid that if you lose the U.S. title, you know, you're not going to be on TV anymore, motherfucker. You're going to go back to, like, superstars. In other words, you're going to go back to the pre-show. He is on the pre-show. He's still in the pre-show. So who the fuck cares about the U.S. title? You know, it's the pre-show title. No one cares. Next up, we had Bayley versus Asuka. This actually was not horrible. Bayley won from interference from Sasha, right? And even though Bayley's reign is now, whatever, like 400 days, whatever the fuck it is, this told a story. The story was completed in the next match between Asuka and Sasha Banks, where Asuka won the women's, like the Raw women's title, right? This was important because even though Sasha Banks is the one that lost, and even though Bayley won, the storyline was not exactly that. The storyline was more constructed, you know, around the idea of like Sasha Banks was able to help Bayley, and Bayley was not able to help Sasha Banks, right? Furthering their divide. Now, it's a slow burn storyline. I don't like it. It's kind of like the Adam Page, Kenny Omega, inevitable, like they're always mad at each other. They've been mad at each other for 3 months. That's not normal in real life, you know? Real people aren't mad at each other for that long. They either stop being friends or they patch shit up, you know? Similarly, in AEW, they talked about some sort of, this connects, motherfuckers, I promise. Some sort of tag team gauntlet match, right? And it's another way to avoid having FTR and Young Bucks wrestle each other. You know, this is not the dream match everyone thinks it's going to be. I'm looking forward to it. I thought that it's the only kind of match that they have in their arsenal that might be considered a dream match, but it's not this huge deal. So it should have already happened, motherfuckers. That's what I think. Anyways, back to SummerSlam. Next up, we had Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza. Now, I thought that Andrade and Angel Garza would win this match. The reason being that the Street Profits have been champions for a long time, and they've really done nothing. Like, they've done absolutely nothing. They just had a stupid feud with the Viking Raiders, which made them into like a 4-man team called the Viking Profits, and that's it. Otherwise, they've just been defending the titles. And I'm not entertained by this, so I figured a nice new coat of paint with new champions would be good. Nonetheless, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins win, and nobody gave a fuck. You understand me? Next up, we had Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville. This was a no DQ, loser leaves Raw match. Leaves WWE match. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought this was going to be a hair versus hair match. I could be wrong, but I believe that I saw a graphic advertising this as a hair versus, like, someone gets shaved bald. You know, that's much more interesting than someone leaves WWE. I mean, in my opinion at least, right? Because we all know that whoever leaves WWE isn't going to leave. They're going to come back. As a matter of fact, I was watching this match, and I predict now, motherfucks, that I predicted while watching the match that Sonya Deville would lose, and that she would be fired, or she would leave WWE, and she would be revealed as a member of Retribution. I'm calling it now, motherfucks. So we'll see. Next up, we had a pretty decent match between Rollins and Dominic Mysterio. Dominic! Street fight. The match was good. It really put over Dominic and Rey Mysterio. And as a matter of fact, Rey's wife. Right? The story of the match was Dominic did not want Rey Mysterio to interfere. And even though he was getting his ass whooped, Rey Mysterio's wife wanted to interfere. And Rey Mysterio was like, no, don't interfere, you know? Because, like, we promised our son. So, like, she didn't interfere, you know what I'm saying? And that was cool. You know, I enjoyed the fact that they had that little element, right? Where it's like Rey Mysterio is and always has been a man of his word. So it's good to see that consistency. Nonetheless, once Murphy gets involved, Rey Mysterio has to come save his stupid son. It ends with Rey Mysterio getting cuffed like a cuck. And Seth Rollins doing the curb stomp and winning the match. Now, here's the problem with that. Seth Rollins threatened Dominic Mysterio on Monday Night Raw with, like, pretty much, he threatened him with ending his career before it starts, right? And I would think that the beating that Dominic Mysterio got at the hands of Seth Rollins 2 weeks ago with a kendo stick is substantially worse than the beating that he got at the pay-per-view, right? Seth Rollins was supposed to end his career, take his eye out or whatever, you know what I'm saying, to follow the storyline consistently. But he didn't do that. What he did was nothing. He just stood there and he took it, and then he beat him up a little bit, hit his finisher, and won, right? Really stupid shit, if you ask me. So that part I didn't like. You know? It was what it was. The rest of the match was all right. I'm not going to sit here and say it was shit. Next up, we talked about the Asuka Sasha Banks one, but we had Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton in what was a horrible match. I have to say, motherfucks. First of all, to kill Randy Orton's momentum is ridiculous, right? Randy Orton is the hottest thing around in wrestling. If Randy Orton is not going to win the title, then he shouldn't be challenging for the title. He could go and wrestle Kevin Owens or something and beat him clean. If Randy Orton is going to end up winning the title at the next match, there is no point in having him lose the first one, right? This is not that 50-50 booking that we're used to. This is not Sami Zayn versus Cedric Alexander. This is Randy Orton, motherfucks. So that was a big mistake. Furthermore, the threat by Drew McIntyre the entire time was that Drew McIntyre was going to beat the shit out of Randy Orton. He was going to end his life, basically, right? He said, I'm going to beat you, I'm going to hurt you, you're a stupid son of a bitch, or you're an evil bastard, or whatever. He said all these things, right? Only to win with a backslide, right? This is not consistent with the storyline. The storyline is Randy Orton is willing to kick people in the head, right? Drew McIntyre is standing up to him, and he said in the promo, he said, Randy, you didn't, like, pull people up. Like, you know, when you became a superstar, you didn't help the guys under you. And I'm going to get revenge for all of them. And for Ric Flair. That's how he gets revenge, with a backslide pin? That's not revenge. That's gay. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense, motherfuckers. So that's what I got to say about that. That wasn't good. The whole idea that this was supposed to be Drew McIntyre's attempt to get revenge for everyone is now means zero, considering that all he did was win with a roll-up. Let's call it what it is, right? Next up, we had Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt in a shit match. Complete garbage. Braun Strowman is bald. They're trying to present it as if it's like a change of look. The reality is he pulled the Baron Corbin. That is, he was balding visibly, and he had to cut that shit off. Nonetheless, it is what it is. It fits him, I guess, motherfuckers. It fits him. The storyline is the same old storyline. Braun Strowman, come back home. Bray Wyatt is here to take you back home. You know what I'm saying? Complete garbage. The match was shit. The match ended when Braun Strowman got, what's it called? What are they called? Box cutters, right? And he cut the mat in the ring, and he pulled the mat off to expose the canvas, right? And he was gonna presumably slam him on the canvas, right? Long story short, Braun Strowman is an idiot. Like, that's like his character. It always has been, right? He's a guy that runs into things. So he fucks up. Bray Wyatt gets up, hits two Sister Abigails. They both look like shit. They look like complete shit. It's one of the worst finishers ever. It's not a good-looking move. You know, like, compare it, for example, to Velveteen Dream's little signature move. It's like a little spinning DDT type of thing. It's very similar to Sister Abigail, except instead of an STO, it's a DDT. But he spins them around. The guy lands on his head, right? It's believable. It's a move that would hurt. But in the context of Bray Wyatt, he just grabs the guy in like a reverse STO kind of, and then he falls on his own back or on his side, and the guy doesn't get hurt at all. It's like visibly clear that this move does no damage to the person taking it. It's so stupid. You know, you would have to be a very retarded human being to be tricked into thinking that this move inflicts any sort of pain on the guy taking it. It's just Bray Wyatt giving this guy a hug and then spinning around and falling. You know, not slamming him or nothing, just spinning around and falling with them both, right? So after doing this bullshit move twice on kind of the exposed part of the ring, he missed, both times he did it, he missed the exposed part of the ring. Like they exposed the ring for nothing because he did the move in a different like area of the ring basically, right? He's trying to make it seem as if he was gonna do it there, but he has no coordination, so he fucked that up, right? After the match, the one good thing that happened in this pay-per-view is the return of Roman Reigns. Now I have to say a few things about this. Now I like Roman Reigns, but first of all, the beard needs to go. He looks much older with the beard. He looks like less intimidating somehow. You know, beards tend to like butch men up, but not him. It just looked weird, right? Number one. Number two, I liked a few things about what Roman Reigns did. What he did was he came and he beat the shit out of both Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt. Now, I like this because I've been saying for weeks now, if not months, that the character of The Fiend is a stupid-ass character, and that a real wrestler, I've used examples like The Rock, Goldberg, Lesnar, right? Kind of the same thing I say about Karrion Kross, right? A real wrestler, like Roman Reigns, would not be intimidated by a guy dressed as a clown, right? Because he's a grown man. He's not an 8-year-old child. He's a grown man. You know, before the Braun Strowman Bray Wyatt match, they showed this, like what happened on SmackDown, right? Which was that like Bray Wyatt got his ass beat by Braun Strowman and he threw him in an ambulance. And then the ambulance starts driving and stops, and the back of the ambulance is like all red. Then you see all these like officials and like WWE wrestlers just like looking at the back of the ambulance, and they're like, they have this look on their face like as if they saw like Godzilla or something, right? And then the camera turns around and it's The Fiend. You've seen him a million times, you know? So all these people were scared of The Fiend. Roman Reigns didn't give a fuck. He came, he speared them both, beat the shit out of them with chairs. It was awesome. Now, the problem is this, because there is a problem with this, motherfuckers. There's a few problems. Problem one, Bray Wyatt became champion, right? That's problem one. Problem two, after he became champion, he took a few chair shots and was down. Like Roman Reigns stood dominantly over him. This is in stark contrast to how he sold the attack by Seth Rollins back in the day. Remember when he just like sold like a million chair shots? It was completely different and therefore inconsistent, and I didn't like it. Lastly, probably the biggest disappointment is that if Roman Reigns does not turn heel, this makes no sense, right? Now I understand that Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman are now heels. Like Braun Strowman is kind of a heel now after he suplexed Alexa Bliss, but a face doesn't attack heels for no reason either, you know? And the fact is what it is. The Fiend as a character and what's his face? Braun Strowman, for the longest time since his face turn, have not done anything to Roman Reigns. So why is Roman Reigns so pissed off? You know, like the way that I remember it, motherfucks, was Roman Reigns was gonna get a title shot against Goldberg, right? And then he pulled out, right? Like insofar as the story goes, the story was never explained. He pulled out, Braun Strowman filled in, and then Bray Wyatt wrestled Braun Strowman. Nobody screwed Roman Reigns. Like, why is he pissed? You know, it's the same, again, it's the same argument I make against Karrion Kross. It's like, why are you pissed, dude? Why is Roman Reigns pissed? You know, what happened that pissed him off so much? He's like, oh, I made you, right? So the only way this works is if this is a legitimate heel turn. And then it can be explained that Roman Reigns is pissed off and he's just like fed up with the bullshit and he's gonna attack whoever he wants. Otherwise, if he's a face somehow, that makes no sense. Now, at the same time, I will say that it was good seeing that fat bastard Bray Wyatt, who's now the champion, getting destroyed by Roman Reigns, because it reminded me of anyone but you, Roman. It reminded me of that bullshit, you know what I mean? And that was retarded, because that was Bray Wyatt attacking Roman Reigns for no reason. So now Roman Reigns is like, you know what, I'm fucking tired of you, you fat bitch. You know, you've been out here just like doing dumb shit for years. It's the way I interpret it, motherfucks. You're out here doing dumb shit for years, and I have to tolerate you, and tolerate you, and tolerate you. Gimmick after gimmick, mask after mask, entrance music after entrance music, white sheep, black sheep, Luke Harper, all this garbage, right? For a guy who accomplished absolutely nothing. And it's consistent with Roman Reigns' attitude of like, I'm the big dog here. I'm the daddy here, right? And like anyone that is the number one in a company could foreseeably be upset at this goofy shit, right? That's the way that I would book it. Like I would have Roman Reigns come out on Friday and just be like, look, I beat the shit out of these two guys and I'll tell you why. It's very simple. One of them is a fat retard who wears a clown mask and he's supposed to be scary and people take him seriously. The other guy, right, suplexed Alexa Bliss, right, because she was changed by the Fiend. In a match where these two idiots fought in a swamp, right, and Alexa Bliss was talking to Braun Strowman as if she was on Bray Wyatt's side, right? And Roman Reigns should be like, I'm not about this. That's what you should say. You should just come on and be like, I'm not about this life, man. I'm here to wrestle and win championships. I'm not here to participate in swamp-ass matches or like stupid-ass John Cena versus Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse match. No, I'm Roman Reigns. I'm a serious motherfucker. And I'm here, and because I'm a serious motherfucker, I'm not intimidated by dumb shit like Bray Wyatt putting on a mask and all of a sudden he's scary. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way to book this. And that could even work for a face, but definitely will work well for a heel, right? He could just be a guy that's like against this cartoony nonsense. He could basically be the hater, but in WWE, you know? Just a guy who was like, yo, fuck this. Yo, I'm tired of this fat bastard just taking off masks and this other retard running into things, cutting up the ring, only to get suplexed or whatever, Sister Abigail'd on it a few times after he cuts his hair and slams Alexa Bliss in what is one of the worst feuds ever. You know? That's what Roman Reigns should do. And if he does that, that's awesome. If Roman Reigns comes back and he's just like, I did it for no reason, I'm a face again, that's retarded, you know? So that remains to be seen. Also, his shirt, it should be worth mentioning. His shirt said something like, wreck everyone, that's what it was. Wreck everyone and leave, right? This is very reminiscent of the Stone Cold, like, raise hell and leave shirt, right? And it leads me to believe that, like, yo, what if this guy's not going to be there on Friday Night SmackDown, you know? What if he slow burned it somehow? And they have him, like, not be there for 2 or 3 weeks? And then he comes back, you know? That's not good. Another possibility that ran through my mind would be this. What if Roman Reigns, motherfucks, what if he's behind Retribution? And and that's their agenda. Their agenda is, I'm tired of this dumb shit. You know, we're against WWE because it's dumb shit. That would be great. That would be something the hater could get behind. So, we'll see, I guess, motherfucks. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Bitches! You know what I'm saying? So that's what I got to say about that. That's your SummerSlam review. I'm going to try to watch Raw today. I have a lot to do, but I think I'm going to get to it. Probably make a video. So, recognize, motherfuckers. See you later.